So I just completed my first rim to rim and I'm super happy, super proud. I'm really excited for this accomplishment, and I wanted to cover my training that I did to prepare for it. I know there's not a one size fits all training plan, and I found it really helpful to understand what other people were doing and getting in Facebook groups and leaning on hiking groups maybe in your local area. There's tons of people that are interested in doing this and that have done it and are willing to share their tips. So what I did is, when I decided I'm going to be doing this hike, I created a training plan. I modeled it after a marathon plan, like a little bit. Just the concept, of course, starting out with a smaller mileage and then slowly building up. I'm not a person who's done extremely long hikes in the past. I do hike regularly, but not anything that's like crazy endurance. So for me, I was like wondering if I was going to be able to do the length that would be required to do rim to rim. So my training calendar, I'll show you. I would print it off, and then I at first hung it on my fridge, and I thought that would be a really great prominent place in my house. And I did like update it initially, but I actually ended up moving it to my desk that I work at because I have a desk job at home, and it just sat on my desk right next to me every day. And so it was a better reminder to have it like really visible right next to me every day. And although I do love like electronic things and, my Google calendars and all of that, I really enjoyed having a physical printed thing because I would cross out the kind of plan and then I would write down what I actually did for each of the days. And then I, towards the end, kind of had fun and started totaling my miles and, totaling my elevation for each week. So it was really kind of fun to see the progress. And then when I'm having moments of doubt, like, did I do enough training? I can go back to my plan and say, yeah, you know what? Like, I did the training. Look at all of these days. Closer in, like the last couple months of training, because it was mid-January, but I wasn't super consistent in the beginning. I did plan to do like a 10K race, which I did. That 10K race, to prepare for that, I would do like intermittent jogging and walking on the treadmill. And I just started off at like an incline 1 when I would be jogging. And then if I was walking, I would do like the incline at like a 5. And then I slowly increased. Once that race was done, I pretty much strictly did walking on the treadmill. And I just would do it at an incline, worked up to walking at an incline of like 10 or 11. Sometimes I would go up to 15 because that's the max on a treadmill. And then I would do gym workouts as well. So, hiking in my calendar, and then at the gym, I would do 30 minutes on the treadmill, 30 minutes on the STAIRMASTER, and then I would do like an hour of weights, and I would do my entire body. Just because you're going to be using poles, most likely. You need to have strong core, back, like your entire body is used in this hike. I did definitely focus on my legs though, because I knew I would need really strong, quads and hamstrings and calves. So I did squats and walking lunges and jumping squats and clock lunges and step ups and just all the things you can think of for your lower body, as well as calf raises, I was doing at the gym to strengthen my lower body, which I think was really fantastic. And in my calendar, I did a lot of local hikes. I didn't get to do as many that maybe are categorized on all trails as hard, because those were further away from my house. And so due to, my family life schedule, I would do things closer to my home. So I actually I'm in Phoenix, and we're about 1,000 feet elevation. But I did usury hikes a lot. So I would do Wind Cave. I would add on to Wind Cave, kind of go above that peak above it. I did the Pass Mountain Trail loop. I used that for my longest hike, which was 19.6 miles, which was really helpful for me mentally. I know some people do their training and they don't necessarily even go to 20 miles, but for me, I knew I needed that. So I did that. I also did, I did Broadway Cave, I did Wave Cave, I did Pinnacle, Peak, What else? Of course, I did flat iron. Flat iron is a really hard trail around here. So that's a good one to, I had already done it in the past, but I hadn't done it in a little while. So it was good to redo that one. I did the Bell Pass trail, which was in the McDowells, and that was a really good loop with lots of elevation. I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, that was really my training. Now, would I, change anything now that I've done it? As everyone says, those last few miles are pretty brutal going up. And I was considering buying a weighted vest, but I didn't. And it would have been nice to have a weighted vest for my STAIRMASTER time and my treadmill time. Now I was fine. It's been a few days. I'm not even sore anymore. I'm not hobbling. So, I think my training was sufficient, but to just enjoy, maybe I don't know if joy is the right word, but make it through the end, that much more, stronger, finish stronger. I would do like the weighted vest. And I don't even know, my pack was 14 pounds. I don't know if you really need a weighted vest. I mean, obviously train with the weight you're going to be going, or maybe even a little heavier, but even if you had like ankle weights, that are a few pounds or just something, I think would be really helpful to incorporate into the training. And yeah, that's what I did for my rim to rim training. Hey, so I'm super excited, having just completed rim to rim a few days ago. I live in southern Utah at an elevation of 2,700 feet. I'm certainly not sea level, but I don't live at a high elevation, which did affect me when it came to training. My training started I had just done a long run a couple months prior to rim. So I just continued with my running and then transitioned from running to hiking. So I would say a couple months out, I trimmed my running miles down, and I ended up hiking pretty much every day. I would do about 5 miles. I had a regular loop with my dog behind my house, some local trails, and then one time per week I would do a long hike. And I built up to 17.2 was my longest completed hike before rim to rim. I also did a little bit of yoga, a little bit of weights. I think the squats were quite helpful that I did in preparation. Really, I feel like I was pretty prepared for the hike, other than at the end, those final 3-4 miles of rim to rim where you ascend. Whew, I'm not gonna lie, it was really, really hard, and I had wished that I had done some stairs or found some hikes with a greater elevation, a greater climb, because my training hikes here in southern Utah, close to my house, I didn't find some great peaks to climb. I just didn't have the time to drive to a destination and do, for example, a 17-mile hike, drive back to my house with the demands of my family. So I think if I did it again, I could have maybe sacrificed more of my time in finding those hikes with a greater elevation gain, or simply going to the stadium that's in my city and running some stairs. That really would have helped, because my calves, both the muscles alongside my shin bones and my calves, were extremely sore after rim to rim. But I loved it. I would definitely do it again. I think it would be fun to explore the other trail options. Like we did North Kaibab Trail to Bright Angel versus South Kaibab Trail, which we heard was significantly, I think it was 2 miles shorter and a lot steeper to climb out. And I would like to see what that route is like maybe next time. I even wouldn't be opposed to rim to rim. I think training for that would be a little bit
would require more for sure. And I honestly, I feel like if I did rim to rim to rim, I would add running to my training, because the cool thing about running versus hiking is you're just at a greater, you're sustaining a greater heart rate for a longer period of time, and you can cover a lot more miles in a shorter period of time. So, but rim to rim, I think was amazing. Super doable for almost anyone, as long as you put in the miles, time on your feet, find shoes that fit you well and feel good, and figure out your gear that you're in love with as you continue to train. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
All right. How's it going, everyone? Emily asked me to make a short video discussing the training for the Grand Canyon hike that we just did, and talk a little bit about it. So I guess for me, it started in January. I kind of wrote it down by weeks. So the first week of January, I did 4 miles. The second week, I did 4.5. Third week, 8. Fourth week, 9 miles. And the first week of February, I did 10 miles. And the elevation, I didn't do anything over 2,000 feet elevation per week. We did a bunch of caves. Did the Shaka Cave, the Wave Cave. I did the Broadway Cave with my kiddos. Then we did the Wave and the Shaka Cave. And then I did the Lone Tree, Weaver's Needle up at the Peralta Trail. The second week of February, I didn't do anything. The third week, I only did the Lost Dutchman 10K. I did that with Emily. Emily actually made a spreadsheet with kind of like just a breakdown of like, hey, do this many miles, do certain workouts and stuff like that. I did do a couple workouts. I wasn't the best at that. I wish I would have done more. I mostly just did hikes, and then I was doing walks too. So I was trying to walk about a 3.5 mile pace just in the evening after I put my kids to bed. I mean, that was a huge thing, is work and having time to do it. That was a struggle, but it was really important for us, so we made it work. Let's see here. The first week of March, I didn't do anything. Second week of March, I did the Three Sisters Summit. So that was a good one, because it was, that week I did 10 miles, but it's 2,600 feet. So I was getting a lot of elevation going up there. Of course, that's a lot more rocky and loose than the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is steep, but it's, you know, a lot of steps and stuff like that. So it's good for my feet. That's probably my biggest thing throughout this whole thing, is getting my feet used to just walking on the ground, because it felt like it beat up my feet pretty good. So kind of strengthening that, figuring out where I get blisters so I could put the moleskin to best protect them. Jumping down a couple. The second week of April, I did 15 miles, 2,800 feet. So that was my most elevation and my most miles that week. That was the same week I did Flatiron, which Emily also did that. The next week I did 22 miles, not all together, but through the whole week. My biggest hike that week was the Battleship Mountain. That week taught me about electrolytes and heat stroke, and how that is a very serious thing. I went through like 3 liters of water, and it was like 93 degrees, and I just was not ready for how much that would affect my body. I ran out of water at 4 miles. So that was a good lesson on like making sure I have electrolytes and water and stuff like that. Fourth week was just all walks, so I had 8 miles. And then May 1st, I feel like we really ramped up the training. We did 35 miles that week. Probably the biggest thing we did was the Pass Mountain Loop and Wind Cave, which we looped around. I guess we looped around it once, then went again halfway the second time up to the Wind Cave and then back. But that whole week, I did 4,200 feet, so not even as much as the Grand Canyon, but a lot more distance. The next week after that, we did 14 miles, 2,200 feet. That was the Gateway, Wingate Bell up in the McDowell Preserve. So a lot of this is just helping my feet, walking on that ground, getting used to it. I felt like my feet were getting stronger each time. They weren't, they'd recover quicker. My legs would recover quicker. Throughout this whole thing, I went to the gym a couple times, did the stair stepping. I actually only did it twice throughout this whole thing. Mostly I would walk around the neighborhood, Like I said, for like an hour and get about 3.5 miles on the nights that I could. Then I try to hit, 1 or 2 decent hikes throughout the week to help build me up. And then the week before the Grand Canyon, the third week of May, did 11 miles. We hiked up the Broadway Cave, kind of something we'd done before. We knew it was really rocky, so we thought it'd be good once again for like that foot, the stability. Then we did the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon I did pretty good. I was prepared for the heat. We were lucky because it wasn't like an extremely hot day. I think the hottest it got was like 85. At least that's where I saw. It might have been a little bit warmer at Phantom Ranch, but like that was negligible. And then hiking up, like that was just slow. We did it. Of course, we were sore from doing it, but I felt like that prepared me. And actually, I want to go do it more. I'm looking at other trails in the Grand Canyon and looking forward to it. So, pretty cool stuff. I think if you have a training plan, I would say, like we started 5 months ahead of time, and I think the more time you just get on your feet, even a little bit helps. I was like, okay, I can go walk, so I went and walked, and I just listened to podcasts or whatever, just to give me that time on my feet, walking around, moving around. So that really helped me, and then learning about the heat and just be prepared for that.